Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Yeah, we've got a really great one today.
We do, but real quick before we get into the breakdown, take a second to hit that subscribe button to Rugby Obsession. You really do not want to miss any of our explorations into the mechanics, the history, and, the hidden intricacies of the game.
Absolutely.
So, okay, imagine putting your head between two massive human beings, interlocking your shoulders, and just waiting for thousands of pounds of combined force to slam directly into your spine.
Yeah, no thank you.
Right. Your lungs are instantly compressed, your vision goes dark, the margin for error is measured in millimeters, and, a single misplaced foot means you get folded like a deck chair.
Literally.
That is the physical reality of the front row. But today, we are looking at a recent conversation between three guys who don't just survive in that environment. They treat it like a playground.
They really do. And we are pulling from this incredible discussion featuring the 2023 World Cup winning Springboks. Yeah, you have loosehead prop Oxness alongside his fellow front rowers Trevor Nche and Stephen Kitchoff.
Which is just a crazy lineup.
It is. I mean, getting one of these guys to openly discuss the mechanics of the scrum is rare. Getting three of them in a room, trading stories about the absolute dark arts of their trade is, it's like finding the blueprints to a vault.
It really is. And our mission today is to decode those blueprints. We are going straight into the hidden, oxygen-deprived chess match of the rugby scrum.
It's total trench warfare.
Exactly. We're going to look at why pure, unadulterated brawn is functionally useless without an elite level of psychological manipulation.
And real-time biomechanical adaptability.
Right. The sheer cleverness hiding behind the brute force of these athletes, it completely changes how you understand the game.
Oh, 100%.
So let's look at the baseline of elite performance here. During this conversation, Stephen Kitchoff asks Oxnedge a very direct question, right? He asks who is the best scrummager he has ever faced.
Right, and Trevor Nche is sitting right there.
He is clearly waiting for the compliment.
Oh, he is leaning in, completely ready for his flowers, and Newt completely bypasses him.
Just ignores him.
Yeah, he just names Frans Malherbe, and Nche actually ribs Nche about it, joking that he only chose Malherbe because Malherbe has a bigger chest and longer legs.
Typical front row banter.
Exactly. But underneath the joke, Nche reveals this profound technical reality about how Malherbe actually operates. He says Malherbe's entire goal in the scrum is simply to be comfortable.
Okay, I have to pause on that word. Comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture this mechanically, and it just doesn't make sense. If you are in the front row and the opposing pack engages with 8 men driving forward, they're sending a ton of force through your frame.
A literal ton, yeah.
Right. And if your response to that force is to just relax and get comfortable, your spine buckles, your knees drop, the scrum collapses, and the referee instantly blows the whistle for a penalty.
That's what you'd think, yeah.
So how does a tight head prop go dead weight without completely collapsing the structure?
Well, it sounds like a paradox, but it comes down to the difference between musculotension and structural framing.
Well.
Because when an average prop feels that massive hit, their instinct is fight or flight. They tense every single muscle, quads, core, neck, to push back. They rely on active muscular output.
But Malherbe doesn't do that.
No. When he feels the pressure, he relies on bone-on-bone efficiency. He locks his skeletal structure into an optimal angle where the force travels straight down his spine, through his hips, and into his studs in the turf.
So he isn't pushing back, he's just sinking his center of gravity.
Precisely. Nche explains that Malherbe learns and adapts in milliseconds. If he realizes the guy opposite him is quicker off the mark, he drops his height.
Right.
If the opposing loosehead gets under his chest and tries to lift him up to disrupt the scrum, Malherbe's counter move isn't to violently drive down. He simply lets out his tension and lies on the opponent.
He just makes himself dead weight.
Completely dead weight.
Okay, that clarifies it. It's not a weightlifting contest. It's a redirecting of momentum. It actually, it reminds me heavily of high-level jiu-jitsu.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, when a martial arts master uses heavy pressure from top control, they aren't flexing their muscles to crush the person underneath them. They actually relax their body so that their opponent has to carry every single ounce of their dead weight.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so any attempt the opponent makes to escape just exhausts them because they are lifting a fluid, heavy object. Malherbe is basically turning the opposing prop's aggression into their own worst enemy.
That is a perfect analogy, and the biomechanics of that are devastating. Think about what happens when that loose head tries to lift Malherbe. They're firing their quads and lower back, doing this explosive upward drive.
Right.
But by going dead weight, Malherbe forces the loose head into an isometric hold. The loose head's muscles are suddenly trapped, fully contracted, holding up not only their own forward drive, but Malherbe's massive frame.
So lactic acid just floods their system instantly.
Exactly. Their legs burn out within seconds. Malherbe solves the physics puzzle by making the opponent carry the math.
Wow. But, I mean, because a scrum is a collective mechanism, Malherbe can't just change his body height or drop his weight in a vacuum, right?
No, definitely not.
Because he has a hooker bound to his left side, locks driving into his glutes from behind. If he suddenly drops his center of gravity to absorb a hit and his teammates don't adjust with him, the kinetic chain snaps.
They would shear right over the top of him.
Right. So how does he do it?
That's the crucial link. For this deadweight tactic to work, he has to coordinate his minute structural adjustments with the rest of the pack in real time.
Which means talking.
Yeah, and that requires a level of mid-scrum communication that is, frankly, terrifying to think about.
It really is. And hey, let me jump in really quickly. If you are finding this breakdown of the hidden physics and tactics inside the scrum as fascinating as we are, please hit subscribe to Rugby Obsession.
Please do.
Your support lets us keep doing these deep dives. Now, regarding this mid-scrum coaching, Nche and Kitchoff focus on this next. And the quotes they provide are wild.
They really are.
Because remember, the physical environment we described at the start, lungs compressed, extreme physical duress. And Nche says that right in the middle of this chaos, mid-shove, Malherbe will calmly talk to him.
Yeah, he'll literally just say, relax, I'm going to sort out my guy, just sort out your guy so that we can be fine.
It's unbelievable. Kitchoff adds that Malherbe actually coaches his teammates while the scrum is actively moving, saying things like, "Go, Ox, go! Hold your hips!"
And now Kane chimes in here to emphasize how important it is to be coachable in the front row. You can't just put your head down and close your eyes.
No.
You have to process verbal feedback and physically adapt to your bind or your footwork while you are actively absorbing 1,000 pounds of pressure.
I am stuck on the physiological barrier of speaking while your diaphragm is locked in a vice. Right. I mean, normal athletes, when maxing out on a deadlift or a squat, they use the Valsalva maneuver. They take a massive breath, trap it in their core to protect their spine, and they physically cannot speak.
Yeah, you'd blow a gasket.
Exactly. How is Malherbe casually having a tactical chat? It makes me think of saturation divers.
Oh, like deep sea divers?
Yeah, you have these professionals operating hundreds of feet underwater under atmospheric pressures that would induce pure panic in a normal human. And they're calmly using hand signals to execute fine motor repairs. Is Malherbe just experiencing an elite tier of cognitive composure under pressure?
You're hitting on the concept of cognitive bandwidth there, because when an amateur or even a standard professional prop goes into a heavy engagement, the sheer survival aspect consumes nearly 100% of their brain's processing power.
Just keeping the spine straight and finding oxygen.
Right. They are operating purely on instinct and muscle memory. There is no bandwidth left over to speak, let alone analyze the opponent. But for a savant like Malherbe, the physical mechanics are so deeply ingrained that securing his structural frame only requires maybe 60% of his bandwidth.
Leaving him 40% to process the rest of the environment.
Exactly. He uses that remaining bandwidth to diagnose the opposing loose head's angle, formulate a counter strategy, and verbally relay that strategy to Nche.
Wow.
It is the ultimate manifestation of composure. He isn't fighting the pressure. He has accepted it as his operating baseline.
That sets up a terrifying secondary consequence, though.
What's that?
Well, if elite front rowers have the cognitive bandwidth to calmly communicate and fortify their own teammates, it means they also have the bandwidth to reach across the gap and completely dismantle the minds of their opponents.
Oh, yeah. This brings us to the dark arts of the front row.
The psychological warfare.
The Springboks in this discussion are incredibly candid about their mindset. They view the scrum as deeply personal. It is not an abstract collision between two packs of 8.
No, it's a hostile, mental, one-on-one battle taking place in a phone booth.
And Nche pulls back the curtain on exactly how he weaponizes that psychological element. He tells this story about a practice session where he was scrummaging against Vincent Koch,
Who is a phenomenal tight head prop.
world class. And during this particular engagement, Koch got a massive hit on Nche. He got the hit, he had the advantage, and he was in the dominant position.
The neck didn't panic.
No, instead of panicking or trying to wrestle his way out, Nche kept his structural shape and executed a pure bluff. He loudly yelled out, "I have him! I have him!"
That is so cheeky.
We have to analyze the sequence of events that follows because it perfectly illustrates how fragile the physics of a scrum really are. When Vincent Koch hears Nche yell, "I have him," his brain registers a threat that his body hasn't felt yet.
Oh, I see.
Koch knows he had a good hit, but hearing that supreme confidence from the opponent creates cognitive dissonance. He second-guesses his own physical reality.
He assumes Nche has found an angle that he hasn't detected yet.
Yes. So, in a split second of panic, Koch tries to compensate for this phantom threat. He changes his shape.
Oh, no.
Maybe he drops his right shoulder a fraction of an inch, or he slightly widens his foot placement to brace against the drive he thinks is coming. But in a scrum, altering your shape prematurely compromises your structural integrity.
So by adjusting his hips to counter a bluff, Koch accidentally surrenders the leverage he had just won.
Exactly. He creates a pocket of space, and Nche immediately drives into that space and wins the scrum.
That is absolutely brilliant. He essentially manipulated Koch into defeating himself.
It's chess.
But if that was a clever use of doubt, Nche's second tactic is just diabolical.
Oh, it really is.
It relies entirely on weaponizing trust. He describes a tactic he calls the fake gentleman's agreement. Before they bind, when they are face-to-face in the dirt, Nche will look at the opposing prop and softly chirp, "I know you don't want to be here. Gentleman's agreement."
Yeah, he implies that the game is basically decided, it's late in the half, and they should just take the engagement easy so nobody gets hurt.
And the second the referee calls set, Nche explodes into the engagement with maximum physical violence. It is ruthless.
It really is.
It's the rugby equivalent of a high-stakes poker player heavily feigning a weak hand to bait the opponent into going all in. But, the physical consequences here are so much higher than losing chips.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you accept that gentleman's agreement and you relax your neck or drop your shoulder tension by even 10%, expecting a soft head.
You get completely folded.
Yeah.
Your spine is not prepared to absorb the shock wave. The force of the opposing pack hits your relaxed frame, and you are instantly shunted backward, completely losing your footing. It highlights a critical reality of elite rugby. The battle for the scrum is often decided before the ball is ever put into the tunnel.
Which raises a larger question about the nature of the sport at this level, I think. When every single prop on the international stage is physically massive and capable of squatting small vehicles, strength is no longer a differentiator.
No, strength is just the entry fee.
Right. So how much of elite front row play is actually just high-level acting and deception?
Honestly, a significant portion of it. The baseline physical requirements are a given. What separates a good prop from a world-class operator like Nche or Malherbe is their capacity for misdirection.
Wow.
Can you feed your opponent false information? Can you make an incredibly strong loose head brace for a massive impact, only to find you've dropped your weight and they are pushing at air?
Or can you offer a fake truce to lower their adrenaline and then hit them with everything you have?
Exactly. The physical collision is just the execution phase. The actual victory happens in the psychological setup.
It is weaponized psychology overlaid on a dynamic physics puzzle wrapped in a 2-ton collision. Hearing these guys dissect it completely changes the viewing experience.
I really hope it does for anyone listening. Because the final thought you should take away from these Springbok masters is this.
Tell me.
The next time you watch a match and the referee blows the whistle for a knock-on, don't look away during the setup.
Right. Keep your eyes on the pack.
Watch the front rows as they pack down. Look at the binding. Look at the height of their hips. Ask yourself, what lies are being told right now? What tactical whispers are being exchanged in the dark?
Is a trap being set?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, the most violent physical clash in the sport might have already been won by a quiet bluff in the dirt.
I love that perspective. And we want to hear your perspective on this. When you look at the dark arts of the front row, where do you stand? Jump into the comments and let us know your opinions.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Do you love the trickery, the bluffs, and the poker game mentality? Or do you think a gentleman's agreement on the pitch should be a sacred bond that is actually honored? Let's get the debate going down below.
It's a tough call.
It really is. And if you want to keep exploring the hidden depths, the tactics, and the untold stories of the game with us, please make sure you subscribe to Rugby Obsession. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.